So this is one of the sessions that many of you have been waiting for. We're going to be now doing a Prism walkthrough for the current feature set and touch on some of the highlights that we've been working on over the last 9-10 months and show you some of the key points that focus on from the Prism POS side, as well as talk about some of the coming features for Prism store operations. Yeah, skip that slide. So one thing I've been asked a lot about and asked for is a breakdown of what features existed in 9 series from the point of sale side and customer management side, and what currently exists in Prism as far as functionality and features. So contrary to what we've been talking about as far over the last day of Prism not being focused on features, we do feel it's important to highlight the features that are currently available so you understand what is available, what you can use, what is coming. So what do you want to do? POS.
So can I chime in?
Yep.
So everything, I don't expect you guys to be able to read what's up here. The point I'm trying to make is a lot of the features and functions that you have seen, that you guys are aware of for Retail Pro 9, point of sale, customer management, most of it is in Prism. Most of it is either in Prism and can be configured within Prism, or a lot of it is configured within Retail Pro 9 but consumed by Prism. So actually, this list is basically I'm a trainer, of course, so this is my training list. So everything on the left-hand side is what I train when it comes to, in the RPAE, Applications Expert course, when it comes to point of sale and customer management, right? And so I just decided, let me just find out, if those features exist in Prism, right? And most of them are in Prism. So if you haven't been in Prism for a while, you need to get in there and start playing around. Start doing what you're normally doing in Retail Pro 9, point of sale, customer management within Prism. Start playing with it because it's there. A lot of it is there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the aspects we all know with Prism is our goal is to make things a lot simpler and a lot more streamlined. So when you do a first pass within Prism and you start looking at the application, we take you into the transaction screen. It may seem like there isn't a lot there. And this is kind of why we want to illustrate this point of just because you're focused on the transaction screen within Prism, it doesn't mean that the feature set doesn't exist. The stuff is there. It may be in the item detail screen. It may be in the transaction details. It may be something that you do need to configure within the admin console to make it available for you.
Okay. And today, at the end of the demonstration, we'll show you some new features that are coming out soon. Purchase orders, receiving, PI as well. And then also, Kevin, you can speak to promotions and accumulated discounting as well.
All right.
Questions?
Are you going to make these slides available?
Yes, sir.
So that's a good question, John. So yes, the slides will be available like all the other slides. And this feature set, as far as a breakdown of what's currently available in Prism, we get a lot of, I know you've asked me for this as well. Can I get a list of the actual breakdown of features, feature by feature, row by row, of what is actually available in Prism? And can I correlate that to 9 series or 8 series so I can show somebody that list? So what you see here, we've actually got a much more detailed list. It'll break down from a marketing and from a sales perspective or from a technical side what is there that will be made available for you. Yeah.
Because
what you see, assets that we're bringing out.
Because what you see here is more from the training perspective, which is pretty close to that deep level feature list. All right? Well, let's get into it. So I'm back here. Hopefully you can see me. All right. So So let me log in. And Kevin, feel free to chime in at any time.
Of course. And you as well.
Right.
If you have questions, you want us to pause, you want to ask a question about an area that we're looking at currently, then definitely hold your hand up.
Don't try to sabotage my demo. I know who's out there looking to break my demo. All right, so logging in, you're taken directly to basically the point of sale module, right? Before you were taking sort of another screen right before this module, but today, it's sort of blue, isn't it? But today, you're taken straight to the point-of-sale module. And as you would expect, all the point-of-sale related features and functions are here, looking up transactions, looking up receipts, basically. I added touch POS, so you guys can see touch menus, what you guys know as touch menus. Today, pretty basic here. Customer management, right? XE out. Now, if you go to the side menu here, hit the Retail Pro button, you can access the other modules. So here's the store operations module as it stands today. So right now out in the field, you guys would only see merchandise and inventory, which is the inventory view. I'll show you the inventory view. We'll show you purchasing and receiving, which is to be released in the near future, and also PI. Okay, PI is actually in a UAT build, so you should be seeing that within the next couple weeks, probably. All right. So I'll show you PI today as well. And then lastly, excuse me, the admin console. So of course, all you guys know Retail Pro. This is basically your preferences, right? So a lot of the features and functions within Prism could be potentially configured through admin console, or it's being configured within Retail Pro 9 and just consumed in Prism. Okay, and I'll come in here often today during our session just so you can see some of the settings as I demonstrate some of the features and functions. All right. One thing I do want to show you, if you haven't been in here before, something that's really different from version 8, version 9, is this area here, Preferences, Settings, Node Selection. So basically, here's a list of all your subsidiaries, right? And you can drill down. So I only have one subsidiary, so here's sub 1. Drill down, here's all your stores. I'm at store 1, so I'll drill down. Here's all my workstations for store 1. And if I want to configure my workstation, that particular workstation, here it is, right? So what's cool about this is, let me exit really quick. Depending on what node, quote unquote, what level I'm at, all the settings that I manipulate at this level automatically applies to all lower levels, right? So if I am applying, for example, if I am setting up item lookup modes, you guys remember what that is, right? How do I look up items on a receipt, right, on a transaction? If I'm setting up item lookup modes at the subsidiary level, right? Right now I'm within that node, I'm at that node. If I go down here to transactions, general, here's the item lookup modes. I want to include AOU. So now my item lookup modes are going to be applied across all the stores within sub 1 automatically, all right? Now, of course, if store, for whatever reason, I didn't save that, that's why you got that message. If store 2 had different settings, and I only want these settings, store 2 to only be looking up items by UPC, I can make that modification at the store level, and also at the workstation level, right? And what's cool about this is all online. So if you needed to configure something at the workstation level, right, what do you guys do today? You remote into that system. Hopefully, it's all the hardware's been attached and networked. You remote into that system somehow to make those changes. Here, you can just open up a browser, access that system, and you can make those changes, right? So that's something that's really, really cool. So I'm going to back out, if you don't mind. Actually, let me do one thing here. I'll go back to the subsidiary level here. Okay. Let me minimize that. And I want to make sure my AOU is there. I'll just save. And then back out. Go to point of sale. And let's go to point of sale, new transaction. Let's just create a really simple transaction. And now I'm making the assumption that some of you haven't been in Prism in a while. So let's just do a very, very, very simple transaction here. So we'll scan in an item, right? Here's your item. Let me pick another item here, 109. Of course, I don't have a scanner, so I'll just key in my UPC, right? Let's say I want to tender. Let's say this person gives me a couple of 50s. I'll take that. He wants to pay the rest using credit card. So this would be, normally, if you're in the US, if you are, the Cayenne dialog would pop up. Mm-hmm. If you're elsewhere, your plugin will pop up. Yeah. Or if your credit card processing is done externally, you may come in here just to put in some confirmation or some information, like the authorization number.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, as Ket's pointing out, this is our EFT section. When the credit card dialogues, we're trying to keep them as consistent as possible between integration in country and region to region. We do have the Cayenne integration currently here in the States, and we are actively working on integrations for the European area. And talking in the initial stages of talking for the Asian Rim and as well as Latin America. So soon you guys will see some new applications available for EFT outside the United States, as well as Canada.
So this is officially a split tender, right? I'm taking some cash, taking some credit. I'll print update. This is an option that you can set in admin console to have it automatically print out, automatically email out, bring up this dialog so you can choose what you want to do. So in this case, I don't have a printer connected. So I can key in for example, an email it off, but I don't have that set up either, so I'll just cancel. And I'm on to the next transaction, right? So pretty quick, pretty smooth. Let's do another one, if you don't mind. Okay, oops, didn't find that item. There you go. This time, I want to look up an item or I want to scan an item, but I don't have the tag, right? Nothing to scan. So this is fairly recent addition here. So the cashier can select this item lookup button, and from here, they can dig in a little deeper, right? So maybe they can look at the tag on the back of the shirt, and they know what the product name is, so they can just type it in. Or in this case, I can just use AOU. This will pop up. Pick the item, right? You can just double-click. It will come over.
And to that point, if you go back to the advanced lookup screen, Kent. So right now, it's the options that you had there previously, they're saved, but you can have a default list of items to look up by or criteria to look up by. We keep it as a blank screen just to show the illustration point, but it has all the basic lookup fields. You can make them all defaults, make them required, et cetera, down the line.
I'll show you that in a few moments as well. All right? This time, let's add a new customer. So I'll try to keep it clean.
No Jacques?
I was tempted. All right. So we'll save this. Carrie's automatically added to the receipt. We'll tender. Again, I'll just take exact change this time around and then print update and continue on, right? On to the next transaction. Pretty straightforward. Yes, Fred?
So I've been around retail pro since version 5. And pretty familiar with how the paradigm has always been implemented where you can, on the customer ID field or whatever it was, you
Yes, sir.
can put the ellipsis and go in and be able to actually edit the customer record. Is there a way to do that? Or do you have to go out into the customer record first? Is that the only solution we have right now? That was a big thing that was troubling to me, and I'm curious how that's handled in the current version.
So in this case, you want to go in and edit his email.
So first of all, I got to find out if the customer's in there.
Exactly. Well, if he's not in there, let's say Fred's not in there, right?
Let's say he's in there.
Okay. Well, if he's in there, like as, for example, Carrie.
Right.
So from here, you can see details. But yeah, in this case,
It doesn't let you edit.
So from this perspective,
So,
it
let me
is
go
set up
back.
just
Go ahead.
for viewing purposes only. But because the screen is something that you can design, you can add whatever controls you want on there. If somebody does want to have the edit function or take you straight into the customer area, you can do that.
That just seemed fundamentally different.
And there's going to be fundamental differences for sure. From your perspective, a lot of your customers, maybe that's the functionality they use. Others may not. And from the initial pass, it's not something that we found most people were using. Does it mean that we can't put it on there? Absolutely not. I mean,
I'm not trying to sabotage it.
no. It's good that you
good
ask questions
question.
like that. I mean,
but that can easily be resolved with a theme, right? With another layout that we may release in the future that has, as Kevin is saying,
I
those.
didn't know it could be addressed like that.
yeah, it absolutely can. So I mean, it's kind of a good point. Let's pause right there for a moment. Again, I mean, we talk about this all the time when we talk about Prism, but everything you see on the screen here is, well, I say user definable, but also user designable. It's because it's an HTML and a CSS based layout, you can modify that in any way you want. We recently did in, May? In Paris, we did a customer event in Paris, and MX Data, they modified the screen entirely and changed the entire workflow to suit their type of market and suit their need. I mean, they created integrations to a scheduling application, had a call to different areas, but that was all something they did, and we didn't provide to them. So when you take on something where you're going to modify that user interface, you can save that off and load that as your base interface when you install the software.
So a lot of this information that you'd normally see, you're right, in the customer record area, you can have that presented on the point of sale screen. So I'm actually on Carrie now. So actually from here, since I'm here, let's talk about customers. So from here, basic information, purchasing history. Something that's really cool from here, normally you would see just a list of receipts, right? List of transactions for that particular customer. By default, we're showing you in that panel on the right-hand side all the items purchased by this customer, right? So if that's across X number of transactions. If you wanted to see transaction by transaction detail, then yeah, you can just change the view. So now I'm looking at this one transaction that I just created for Carrie.
Yeah, that's actually a big thing. I mean, we all know customer history from legacy Retail Pro or past versions of Retail Pro, and that it does show customer history based on the transaction only, which then we go, okay, when did you roughly purchase something? Is it around this time frame? Search for that date, look for the transaction, drill down into the transaction. It's one of the things that it's been a pain point for me looking at customer history or the customer module because it doesn't make sense. It's not intuitive. It's not what I'm actually looking for. The customer may come in and say, I bought this polo. I have to go figure out what transaction and what time frame that came from. Whereas if I've just got the item basis on there and I can search for the items, maybe they only purchased 5 items and it's easy to find. But it makes it a lot easier to sort through and go, okay, yeah, quickly find, scan, sort on the description column that I want, find the item quickly.
So from here, let's go ahead and just create a new transaction for Carrie. So I'll list a few items here once again. 383. Great. I'm going to sell this, and we're going to return it in a few moments, all right? Let's take it. I'll just update only if you don't mind. And there you go. So Kerry comes back the next day, and he wants to return one of those items. Here's what you would need to do. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and just hit the return button. It's a little hard to see here. Hit the return button, and look for that transaction. Look for that original sales transaction. Of course, Kerry probably brought in that receipt, so you can scan it. You can find it that way, right? You can scan the document SID here. I'll look for Kerry here, my last name. There it is. He had 2 transactions. I'll grab the last one here. And here are the items on that transaction. He would like to return that particular item. I'll highlight that item, hit return, return to document. Return to document. Come on, maybe. Oops. Did I hit it? Let's return this clear item. Uh-oh.
You're stuck in a loop.
I'm stuck in a loop.
And as any
Okay,
demo
let's
goes,
start over. Return. Let's find all my transactions for today. There's Kerry. Here's that item. Return that item. Return to document. There you go. So from here, let's say he wants to buy another item. 109. Fantastic. Tender. He still owes me $170. I'll take that and update. And he's on his way. So that's a simple return. All right? Let's now do, if you don't mind, a quick order. So you guys know about layaway orders, special orders, customer orders in Retail Pro 8, Retail Pro 9. Here's how you would handle that in Prism. So I keep doing that. Let's do 468. All right, so let's say I want to order this particular item. So maybe this item isn't in stock, and the customer wants to order that item. You plan to order it for him, let him know when it comes in. So highlight the item, select item type, select order, right? And by default, I set up the system to automatically create customer orders for all my orders. So I'll show you in a few moments where you can choose to also allow for layaway orders as well. All right? So from here, I'll just, actually, you know what? I'm going to cancel this. We'll do that right now. We'll make for a better demonstration. Let me back out. So I just canceled that receipt. I'll back out, go to Admin Console, go to Preferences, go to Transactions, go to Orders, and right here, I will enable layaways as well as the default customer orders. And for customer orders, I will require a 25% deposit. All right? So let's save that. And notice, by the way, if I try to save this isn't, right now I'm not at the subsidiary level. So because I always forget that. So you need for every setting, every time you go to actually configure the setting, make sure you know what node you're at, what node you're on. So right now I'm for subsidiary 1. Right? So for sub 1, I will make that change and save it. Right? Actually, let's do layaways as well. I'll make it required and save. Okay, let's back out. Go to POs, point of sale, new transaction. We'll do this for Kevin here, let's say. All right, so 468. And we'll go ahead and just make that item type, order. This time you get to choose. We'll choose customer order, and then we'll go to tender. It's prompting for the 25% deposit. we'll take that, or you can pay for the entire balance. We'll just take the 25% that's been suggested here, and he's going to give me exact change, update, and we're on to the next transaction. So it's pretty straightforward.
So one point on here, it's one of the things that's come up recently within some of the areas outside the U.S. is the need to have documents or transactions that are limited to a specific item type. One of the changes that we made within Prism was to make it so that a transaction can have every type of item on it. And from an ease of use perspective, that's great. It makes the transactions quick and seamless. But that doesn't always work in different markets and different verticals. Sometimes in different regions, they have to have sales limited to sales or return transactions limited to return transactions, orders limited to order transactions. So one of the things that's coming in, one of the releases at the end of this month, is the ability to have the documents, the transactions themselves, limited to that specific item type. So that way you've got the best of both worlds.
Great. So now let me show you how to handle a send sale. So if you don't know what a send sale is, basically a send sale is allowing a user, a customer, a retailer, to basically sell out of any inventory, right, out of any store. So maybe you have several stores here in San Francisco. If I don't have it here at the store in Union Square, I want to be able to sell out of the Chinatown store or the store off the pier, right, or in Sausalito. So that's called send sale. That's a send sale. And what's cool about send sale is that I sitting here in the store at Union Square, I get credit for that sale. It's my commission. It's my sale, right? It just gets fulfilled at that other location, or maybe it gets fulfilled at some warehouse and they ship it out to the customer. But at the end of the day, it's my sale. It's my transaction, right? Now, in version 8, version 9, you have sales orders, yes, and you can relay sales orders. But at the end of the day, that sales, whoever finally completes that sale, even though you spent hours trying to close that sale, you don't get credit for it, right? You get the person that actually creates that receipt against that sales order that you created gets credit for that. That's sort of the key difference. Now, to set this up, go ahead.
So one of the concerns on send sale that I've heard as well is the fact that, okay, I get credit for the sale, I make the transaction, it's mine, but it's fulfilled somewhere else. How does the stock balance happen? How do we get the quantities handled? When the send sale is actually done and fulfilled, there's an automatic transfer that happens behind the scenes. It's just a transfer record that we never see, no one ever touches. It's done behind the scenes to make sure that the inventory levels balance on both sides. So if the item was in Ket's store, I actually made the send sale, I get credit for it. Behind the scenes, there's going to be an automatic transfer that takes it out of his inventory and puts it into my inventory.
Yeah. We need that audit trail, just as you would expect, right? So to set up send sale, it's pretty straightforward. Just go back to admin console, and for all the stores that you want to have available, excuse me, I clicked too fast there, as a potential selling source, right? You need to go highlight the store, select this edit button here, and specify their IP address. Okay? Immediately when I create that send sale, you'll see in a few moments because it's going to fail because I don't have a connection to another store, but it will try to send that sales order, that send sale to that other store location. All right? So in my case, I have this for store 1. Store 2 also has an IP address. Store 3 as well, and I'll add store 4 just so you can see it. So I'll just make up a IP here. Oops, excuse me. Whatever. All right. And you'll see in a few moments that these 4 stores will be available for me when I go to create a send sale. So that being, I'm done. I'll go out, new transaction. Let's list an item. Let's do a new one, 383. Great. I'll say item type, send sale. Okay. These are stores available to me outside of my own store, right? So let's say I want to sell out of store 3. Done. And then from here, let me do this for, I don't know why Alexander's buying a $100 men's shirt, but we'll continue on. And just as you would expect with the sales orders, this window pops up. You owe me some money. In this case, you owe me all of the money, right? You're buying it here. So we'll go ahead and just take that, show pay in cash, update. And you'll see that little blue line it's a little hard to see going across the top. It's actually trying to move that send sale to the other location right now. It's going to error out because I don't have that other store doesn't exist. It's just a bogus IP address. But it's happening right now. And as Kevin mentioned, behind the scenes, so that you have a full audit trail, you will get those transfer documents, moving transactions from that store 3, I think, back to my store to make that sale. Right? Yes, sir.
That's what's really cool. But now Kevin gets the order. He has to fulfill it.
Yes, sir.
Getting credit for it, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What happens on his side in terms of like how the screen tells him he's got to do that?
Yeah, because I'm dealing with one system, I wanted to show you the fulfillment side, but which I can, but I can sort of speak to it. On Kevin's side, all he would do is he would go to, where are you? Let me cancel this really quick, right? When he comes in, he would look up the transaction, he would find that transaction.
So, but this is the manual side, and it's
so. I know where you're getting at. Go ahead.
We are actually working on an alerts and messaging module
yeah.
right now. The expectation is it's going to go in phases. The first aspect to alerts and messaging is to be able to have store-to-store communication. So you're a store manager, I'm a store manager, I need to send you something, hey, pull this off the shelf type of thing. We have that basic messaging. But the ideal scene is to have, when that send sale transaction comes down to my location, so he makes it, comes over to my side, I get an alert and either assigned to me as an individual clerk or an associate, or to the store itself that says, hey, by the way, you need to fulfill this order. And it gives you a list.
Okay, now you fulfill it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that will go back to him that tells him this is the UPS number so it ships, so that when I say to him, hey, I never got the shirt, he has a way to figure out how it got to it?
We haven't touched on the shipping as far as notifying the UPS shipment yet, but it's something that's actually come up recently in the last day to have that type of functionality for the tracking aspect. But when the transaction is fulfilled on my side, at his end, he's not going to see anything from that point forward. From his perspective, the transaction was completed and done when he made the sale. So as far as Ket's concerned, he does a send sale. It's a sales transaction. It's not technically an order. So the fact that it's done and the money's taken, he's moved on, he's going to the next sale. At my side, I'm still doing the fulfillment. When I complete the fulfillment, I am actually using the deposit records and the automatic transfers behind the scenes. They all go back to him so that he knows everything's completed. So if he wanted to bury down into the transaction and see, did it actually happen, he could. But there's no UPS shipment tracking or any FedEx World Ship. Yeah. Then he's got to track it down, exactly.
Now, assuming Kevin was aware of this send sale, basically this is the workflow here. So we find that send sale. I'm using the sales order from earlier in this example. He would select order details, fulfill the order, right? Is he fulfilling all 4 of those chairs or just 2 out of the 4? So in this case, I'll just say everything, fill all due. Say OK. And then when it goes to tender, hey, you have that deposit. Do you want to use it? Of course, right? How much of that deposit? I'll take the full amount. Okay, you still owe me money. Take it. But in this case, of course, if this is a send sale, that full deposit will cover the total of the sale, totality of the sale, and then update. And he's on to the next transaction. Pretty
straightforward. Do you have a question, Maru?
Yes, Amaru.
Just moving.
Oh, who did you call? All right, just stretching.
So I have a question. So when
yes, sir.
you made the send sale, the clerk would have asked the customer, do you want to come back here and pick it up, or do you want me to ship this to your house? Where is that telling Kevin to ship it to a guy's house or have it put on the trunk and or come back?
There isn't an aspect to take the transaction or the goods to go. So if you're a store, I'm a store, and I send the transaction to you, there isn't an option to say send it back to me and transfer it back to me so they can pick it up here. There's an option to either ship it to the customer or not put in a shipping address and have them pick it up at that store if they want to drive across town.
So that's to process at the same store?
No.
I don't know.
The shipping address.
So the customer goes over to a name and address are attached to the receipt?
Yes.
So they know where to ship it based on their transaction?
Yes.
But how do you know at your store that he told the customer, this is going to be shipped to your house as opposed to the customer?
Just instructions.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Pick it up at that store. Yep.
I'm going to go to that store and pick it up.
Or have it shipped out.
Have it shipped to my house.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you would have to put some instructions. There's nothing inherently in here, so you'd have to use some notes, some comments, something that to track that information. Okay, and that information would be right here. So under transaction details, you would put that information somewhere. Notes, right?
But in a better world, it would be
In a better world, it's an
Yes.
option. You pick which one.
It's good.
Yeah, is it a drop ship from the store? Is it a pickup in store? Is it ship it back to me? Exactly. Yeah. It's a good idea.
I can work around it with a POS flag.
But, I mean, we shouldn't have to work around it. I mean, it's a great suggestion. That's something that we should put in the system.
Cool. All right. Next. So, centrals. So, Prism does fully support centrals at this moment, 80%, 90%. So, centralized customer lookup. So, if the customer does not exist within your store, it will look to the central server to pull that customer down. Centralized returns. So, again, if someone is returning against a sales receipt that doesn't exist at your local database, it will look to the central server to retrieve that information. And centralized payments, store credit, central credit, and gift card. No gift certificate yet, from what I have been told. So I just want to show you where this is at. I don't have a real demonstration for you, but it's all here under, again, make sure you have the proper node, and then under transactions, centrals, this is where you configure your centrals. What's going to be available. Customer lookup only, or payments only, or customer returns, central returns, and customer lookup. Pretty straightforward. All right? Another, taxes. Actually, since we're here, taxes, maybe, Kevin, actually, let me first speak to the fact that pretty much all of the taxes that are available in Retail Pro 9 are supported in Prism. So regular single tax, double tax, VAT, sliding taxes, luxury taxes, taxable ceilings, all of those options that you would configure in Retail Pro 9 is being consumed properly, right, within Prism. In addition, I'm not sure if this is out yet, tax rebates and DTax.
It's coming.
So it's coming.
Coming
that's right. It's on the coming soon slide. You want to speak to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our best to get as much in here around the whole tax structure. I mean, everything that we're used to from the previous systems and previous versions of Retail Pro, as far as all the multi-tax and all the various tax types that Ken has mentioned, but also including the basic tax rebate functionality and the basic DTax functionality that we see outside the states. In addition to this, we're actually working on great integrations as well with tax services and, on top of that, tax rebate services. So, I mean, things like the Premier Tax and the Global Refund businesses out there, ideally we're going to have those as well listed so that you can turn those on and enable them for a transaction.
All right. Well, let me show you a few more things, and then I think we'll open the floor to questions. So I'm going to go back to point of sale.
Hey, Ken?
Yes, sir. Am I right?
Quick question on the tax services.
Yep.
So, as an example, like Avalara here, are we saying that if we have a customer who's interested in using Avalara, that would be a tax service where, for example, with the Zen sale, you would hit Avalara, get some tax calculation sent back to you, and populate that inside of Prism?
Yeah, provided the integration is completed, yes, the integration should be available in the system, and we should be able to have preferences within there or admin console options that allow you to turn that on. So if we've got a plugin that good example, we use Avalara as a plugin that does those tax calculations. That tax calculation should be done throughout the system anywhere it applies. So that would be your transactions, that would be your send sale.
And just besides Avalara, our customers like Vertex and
Yeah, it's very common.
At the moment, no. So just be straight up. Yeah. 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 Now that said, I mean, if you do write the integration to Vertex, you can bring that into the system. You're not going to have preferences that are built into the admin console, but you still can use it.
Good. All right. So I want to do one last sales transaction, just to hammer, just again to make sure you walk away understanding that pretty much all of the point of sale customer management functionality within 9 is being consumed properly within Prism. Promotions plugin. So all the promotions that you've configured within using the V9 promotions plugin is being consumed by Prism wholesale. Kits, packages, non-inventory items, right? All those special type of items that you would have in Retail Pro 9 are being supported and consumed by Prism. I just want to show you a few of those, right? So for example, I have a package item here. And actually for this one, the workflow changed slightly from what you're used to. So here you go for packages. If you know about packages, right, you can sort of pick and choose from categories within that package. So it looks like this is a beach, sort of a beach package. So you get a bag and a towel, right? So which of the bags did the customer choose? So in this case, you can either use the lookup item to scan the actual bag that the customer is selecting. I'll just highlight it. I'll just click on it. And now what about the towel? Which of the towels did they, of the available towels, which one did they select? And it's that one. All right? So I know in version 8, version 9, you actually had to choose from a list of however many. You didn't have the option to scan in the actual component items, which is a nice enhancement. So from there, you can tender. But I'll go ahead and just do another one here. This is, I believe, a serial number item. So there you go. So you would enter in a serial number.
If you scan the wrong item, would that stop you?
Scan in for...
Scanning an item that's not
Yeah, exactly. Because it will only be available within that package. So in version 8, version 9, that list could be quite huge, right? It could be, there's 50 towels you could choose from. And it was quite cumbersome for the cashier to have to actually, sift through that list to find the correct one. Here, they can just scan that tag. And yeah, if they scan a diamond ring, it's not going to allow for that. All right? So what 41, perfect. So now with serial numbers and lot number tracking, we're just basically capturing that information. So this particular feature is coming in phases. It will be a little more robust, a little more full-featured moving forward. But right now, it allows you to capture those serial numbers and those lot numbers.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I want to pause on that just briefly. Some of the features that you do see or that we're used to using, serial numbers, lot number tracking being a good one. It's one of those ones that we have a large expectation for. That when we say we've got serial number and Prism now, everyone thinks, great, we have absolutely everything. Or maybe it's been improved in tenfold. Ideally, that's exactly what we're doing. We give you the feature as quickly as possible with everything that's going to be in it. There will be features in the system, though, that they're done in phases, and this being a good example, where there are limitations within the back-end technology that we need to put in place to be able to fully capture, fully track, make serial number something that is everything we expect it to be. But waiting for that to happen, it may be 6 months, 5 months down the road before we've got all of that done. So rather than wait for that, we do something like this where we take the serial number or the lot number and be able to capture that on the transaction so that from a retail standpoint or the POS standpoint, they can continue that sale, make it happen, and then that data goes back into 9 series so that it's tracked and deducted from that serial number list in 9 series. So it's not just a matter of we're capturing the item here and then you forget about it. It is actually being tracked, just not in the Prism side yet. So as we release Prism with more functionality, more communications functionality, which is truly what we need, the passing back of a transaction from 9 series or from that list of the tracked list of item numbers and serial numbers, lot numbers and serial numbers, we can then enable all of that.
So what's not there, so you can't get a list.
Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. So, I mean, it really comes down to, most serial numbers, you can have a barcode. I mean, it's something like that, or a lot number that can type it in so they can scan it easily. Understanding it's not the ideal scene. It's something that I definitely want to be a lot further. But just to be fully transparent on it, it truly is capture right now. And quickly behind this release, you've got something where it is actually tracking, where we can say, hey, I've got the item on there, and it does pull down that list of serial numbers from 9 series and keeps them in the Prism database. Exactly. And the point being, when we've got something, right? We don't want you to delay. We want you to at least get going on it, and so that you can use it at the point of sale system.
So lesson here, please read those release notes, right? So if all you read is a marketing communication says serial numbers is available, and you go out and sell it and deploy Prism in electronics store, and they need all the fancy features within serial numbers, and you might be shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
Right. So in this case, with serial numbers, you don't get a window to choose from X number of serial numbers for that particular item. For lot numbers, there is no functionality that will prevent you from selling or entering a lot number that has expired, or selling an item with a lot number whose expiration date has expired, right? All that is not available with this particular phase, and all that would be detailed in the release notes. So make sure you read those release notes, all right?
Yeah, and it would be the same thing. Another good example is decimal quantities. Decimal quantities is available in Prism, and it allows you to use decimal quantities at the sales transaction, but that doesn't mean there's a scale interface. Most of us, when we say decimal quantities, we assume, no, it's a scale, I can do weights and measures at that point. We don't want to wait for the wait for the scale interface, no pun intended, but we get that out there so that you can actually start using it, because quite often people can just type in the decimal quantity and move on from there, and it should calculate everything out. So it's the phases. Let's get this to you quickly so you can start using it. There's no limitation. We can get you going forward.
And if you have questions, you need to email us. You need to call us. Call training, call support. another good example that comes to mind is checking available, right? If you know what that feature is, it basically when you're scanning an item, it will determine if you actually have the item in stock, right? So you could be selling something where inventory says there's a 0, right? Someone didn't receive something, so your inventory is incorrect, but you have it in your hands and you actually want to sell it. So there's a feature that will check you're on hand, right? But it doesn't check you're committed. Because the reason why it's 0, or the reason why it shows 1, when in fact it's not really available because it's been promised and committed to someone else on an order, right? So that checking available doesn't check committed today, it's just checking on hand. So again, just make sure you guys read those release notes, all right? And you'll see it in admin console as well. You would expect to see checking on hand, checking committed, and you don't see checking committed, right? So if you have a question, you need to call us. So I'll go ahead and just tender this. Take it. Wow, $3,000. Update, on to the next transaction. Those are real items, by the way. That's an expensive store. Questions about anything so far? Yes, sir. Sean, of course.
I'll make them really quick.
All right.
Penny rounding is always supported.
Rounding, say that again?
Penny rounding, currency rounding.
Yes.
Okay. Customer loyalty is not supported with Centrals, right?
Correct.
Is that the roadmap?
Not yet.
It is, yeah. I was talking to someone earlier about this. We had intention of having this in by the end of the year as part of the Centrals backbone to round out the Centrals functionality. So it could be based and leveraged on the 9 series side. We can use the loyalty points there, consume the loyalty points, add the loyalty points. We actually have, you didn't show promotions yet, right?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Okay.
We don't have that set up.
So promotions is.
You can see it outside, by the way. If you want to see promotions, I have some promotions live on the Prism
So
demo booth.
the reason we don't have loyalty is we have promotions in Prism right now, but as we get Prism out in the field and it's being used by retailers, one of the big areas was promotions and the ability to be able to use a lot of promotions, be able to change promotions. So one of our strategic things that we looked at is that, it might be a better opportunity for us now to actually take the promotions module and the promotions engine, we're relying on 9 series, and just rip that to shreds, start over from scratch, and build it all in Prism. So we took the loyalty and said, let's postpone it a couple more months, move it into the beginning part of Q1, and then take this time so that we can rewrite the promotions module and have this extremely robust, extremely flexible promotions module that should encompass all of the promotion capabilities and requests that we've had. So the heavy lifting on the promotion side is being done this year with an expected delivery of I believe it's January, end of January 2016. And then quickly behind that, you'll see the loyalty points come in from the Centrals backbone. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Touch menus, you mean?
Yes.
Yep.
Like have one that's sent out records, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
You don't even. I trust you.
Yeah. It's something because it's.
I'm going to demo it anyway. All right. Stop telling me what to do, Sean. All right.
Gets a little obstinate that way.
There you go. Touch menus. Yeah. So that's actually in the system. Actually, it's pretty cool because it's built into the admin console, so you can actually configure that. All the touch menus directly from here, right?
Are images on the roadmap for the touch buttons?
Yes. I mean, this is actually something that we use back in our office. So we've got a little snack shack, counter that we have set up in the office, and we actually use touch menus for that purpose. So it's one of the things that we ourselves are saying, gotta be really nice to have a little image on there, not to actually look at which one is this. And
You actually charge yourself?
oh yeah, we actually make a profit too.
Hey, can't beat 50-cent Haagen-Dazs. Come on.
We do have shrinkage. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we do have shrinkage.
Hey.
I haven't had that same for 2 years.
Not yet. We're working on that.
We need
Somebody sent me a bill and they said I had to pay for 6 months in it.
We need management one, Dan. We need your services.
I got this thing about an essay not carrying forward, having to buy another site, and I don't want to deal with that. Exactly.
Any other questions? Good question, Sean. Thank you. All right, let me show you quickly. I just showed you touch menu. So XE out. So pretty straightforward, basic functionality. So X out is X out, right? Tracking your sales transactions throughout the day, sales activity throughout the day. So in this case, of course, I don't want to see across for my particular store, all my workstations. And I can just preview it here. Right, there's a design. Pick a design. Choose a default if you want, and there you go. Pretty straightforward. Now, let me back out really quick, if you don't mind. XE out, Z out this time. Again, I'll just do it for my entire store as opposed to each workstation. You can do that if you want to count per workstation. Here you can just put in, I'll just put in some numbers here if you guys don't mind. All right, next it. Confirm all the non-currency media here, all the non-cash. So I'll cheat a little bit. I'll just say select all. Next, drawer will try to reconcile. Yes. All right, so it's actually going through it. And it'll tell you if you're over or short, and I definitely lost some money. Finish it, and you're back to square one. So it's pretty straightforward. And you have the option, I'll go to admin console once again. For those of you who are familiar with XE out, it's one of those areas where I lose. Where are you, Cat? Reports. There it is. Okay, so from here, again, I'll do this for sub 1. I'll open it up, minimize it here, collapse it. And you do have the option to use structured mode, which is going to require that they open the drawer before they can make sales throughout the day and then close at the end. Or what you just saw, which is unstructured mode, which allows them to put in their float amount, the opening amount, at the same time as when they're closing the drawer, right? And same things you're used to seeing in V9. Blind closes, so they don't cheat, which they will do, and click, 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 next, 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 until they know exactly what Retail Pro expects to see in the drawer, and then hit back, 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 and enter that amount, right? So all the features you would expect coming from 9 are already. This is actually a really good example of a feature. Pretty much wholesale has been ported from 9 to Prism. It's here. You can configure it. Another good example would be POS flags, right? It's here. You can configure it. You can add new POS flags from here. And that will be the case with a lot of these other features that are currently just being consumed in Prism. Eventually, they'll be in Prism, right? The next phase or phase after that, you'll be able to configure them and add new, say, POS flags or modify when we get to back office, for example. Yeah, things like UDF fields or customer UDF fields.
Yeah, with every release, we're adding little bits here and there. Things like Document Designer. We've got the Document Designer coming to the system, which allows you to modify receipts, document designs, everything printed.
You can see it outside if you want to see the new Document Designer.
So that's been one of the big concerns about Prism as far as, okay, now we've got all this flexibility, but the documents, originally they were a very complex format rather than going into the technical details on how to create them. We've now got the Document Designer like we had in 9 series and 8 series so that we can actually create those documents. So
it's actually quite robust.
Yeah, it's
so very
robust.
Powerful. So play with it. It's outside if you want to see it. And I think, is that it?
You're jumping in the last 2 now.
Yeah, let's get into the newer stuff now. So a lot of this stuff has been around, by the way, for a while.
Well, it's been around. I mean, we take it for granted because we've had a lot of these things in the system for the last 6, 8, 9, 10 months. So we just want to make sure that you guys are aware of them and that they're highlighted. So
PI. So now I'm into the store ops area. Before we get into PI, so inventory view. So this allows you to actually, before you couldn't really, unless you had something to scan or look up an item from inventory at point of sale, there's no real way to see a list of inventory items. So that's now inventory view. So it's sort of like your choose edit, right? What you're used to in choose edit. So from here, you can look for a particular, let's say description 1. I don't know what I have. Oh, there you go. Some shirts here. And from here, you can find it. You can double click. Click. And you can actually start a new transaction from here. Or I failed to show you. Let me do it again. I'm going to cancel this. You could see more information before you decide to bring it over to the receipt. Oops, wrong one, sorry. Store ops, inventory view. So again, I'll run that same search. I'll pick this particular item, go to item details, see that information, right? And then if you want, you can bring it back to the receipt. So this is like your choose edit, what you're used to in choose edit. And by the way, I'm going to back out really quick. Well, actually, before I do that, Kevin mentioned that you can configure some defaults here with the advanced search. For customer lookup, you have a lot of options here as well, and these are all configurable. And a few other areas as well. So let me show you in admin console. Someone had a question about this earlier outside. So here is where you can do a lot of that. So all the grids, all the tables you sort of see within Prism are configured here, as opposed to in V9 you're used to Page Manager and all that. instead, you'll do it here, right? You say, these are the columns that I need to be available in this particular view or in this particular area, and then give them more options, if you wanted to, with permission, of course, to actually make that change. So this is, for example, here's the item view. Let me back out. Let me go back to store ops, inventory. I'll do that same search, right? And you'll notice these little drop-down menus here, right? You can hide it, get out of the way, right? From here, you can add additional columns if you wanted to. Okay, so similar to what you're used to with Page Manager.
Click on the more details.
Say that again?
More details on an item?
Yep. Open and pick an item.
Yeah, that would be ideal, yes.
And there you go.
So just a technical point that I wanted to point out to guys that are used to dealing with item images in 9 series. So we all know images in 9 series are stored in the database. Massive pain. Move them around takes a lot of effort. We learned our lesson. Item images, customer images in Prism are not stored within the database. They are taken out and they're put into their own structure so that they're easy to move around from installation to installation. So I just want to point that out because we see things, again, things we take for granted. Oh, yeah, we've got item images, but this is from a technical aspect. Things like this, we're trying to do a lot more of that to make it easier to administer, easier to implement, easier to manage overall. So.
Yep. And we do give you the tools you need today to extract those, if you have those images within Retail Pro 9, to extract that out, right? And then we will create a thumbnail image of this particular image as well as the full, I think they grab item images, style images, customer images.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the images.
3 or 4 sizes for each one?
And I know this is just a phase 1 as well, because I know they're looking to allow for even more options when it comes to images. So you can truly have, just a library of images for a given item. Yes, sir. Jeff.
So if they're in their own database, could you move those as part of the installation and not have to pull them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
That's
just a
really
folder.
the point. Yeah, that's truly the point.
It's just a folder.
We're used to having to move them around with polling, which is a nightmare and takes forever. So you just zip up that folder, compress it, send it out, put it in Dropbox. I mean, ideally, if someone has a very fast connection, you could have everything point to one central structure and have everything go to that one structure.
Exactly. Okay, and actually, if you don't mind, we're going to go long.
We're already long, actually.
Right. This is Kat up here now. Okay, so where are you? Transactions. I can't find it. There's an area where I think it's general. Nah, I always forget where. But actually, to Kevin's point, you can actually point to where that images folder is, and it could be locally, it could be in the cloud somewhere.
Yeah, Dropbox, wherever
right.
you want it.
All right, and that's just an option in Admin Console.
Images in here or in V9?
Say that again, John?
Where do you attach the image to the item in Prism or in V9?
They're extracted from V9 now, and they're associated by a SID, so that value is then put in there. But if you can actually attach them to the images as well. In here, yes. For customers, currently for customers, not for items.
For customer
we're not managing
right
inventory data, so right now it's just for customers. Okay. So when we're able to manage inventory within Prism, then yes, you would be able to attach those images in Prism as well.
All right, let me quickly show you PI. I won't spend too much time here. So I'll just create a new PI. I'm making the assumption you know how to do a PI. So we'll just do a quick PI here. So we'll just go ahead and create this. And you can create with filters as well. And I'll go ahead and highlight this here, this item, this PI. So what I just did there was I created a PI sheet. In V8, V9, you call that a store PI file. It's called a PI sheet now. Here's all the items on that store PI file. Or if you did filter up front, then this would be that filtered list, right? And here's everything that's been scanned. It's been counted. I haven't counted anything yet. So add counts is where you would do that. So from here, up above, you can go in and you can actually count some items. So for example, let's say I want to count 100 units of that particular item. I'll add another 10 units of that item, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, most likely your folks are out there scanning items, and then they want to come back and just drop in, import in those counts. You can, in the imported section here, select import. And just like in Retail Pro 8, Retail Pro 9, you can create your own import map to read that text file, for example, that holds that would hold those counts. All right. So this is identical to what you would expect in 9. All right. That's it. Let me cancel. When you're done, you would basically, I'll go back to scanned here. You would import, oh, not import, excuse me. Let me go back out to the PI sheet. Where are you? Wrong one, sorry. Cancel. Here's what I'm looking for. So from here, from the main screen, you would send to 9. I'm missing something here. PI sheet. Imported. I'll find them. I'm looking for a screen. I'll find it later.
The map
Come outside.
Map definition.
Yeah, I was looking for something so I can press that send to. Ultimately, after you finish your counts, you're going to need to send this to V9, and then V9 takes over, basically.
Again, back to the point that Prism is not managing inventory at this point in time. So anything that's going to be managing touching inventory is being pushed back to 9 until we actually enable that functionality within Prism.
And lastly, just 2 more, just so you can see this.
Glad you asked that. It is actually. So we actually have a project going on right now back in the office where we are creating a simple aspect to PI to be able to scan. We're writing it in the iOS environment so that we can basically take advantage of any device out there that's iOS. So that kind of it crosses the board. Plus, you've got the ability to define maps. So if you've got something that can go out and scan, even the little matchbook-sized Motorola scanners, the little Bluetooth ones, you can use those to your heart's content and just keep going forward. We're doing our best not to lock ourselves into a corner like we did in the past.
Like we did.
Go down to one specific hardware that gets antiquated very quickly. I think we all can recognize we painfully learned our lesson in that one. Don't want to make that same mistake. So, I mean, we looked at this back at the office and said, what's the best way for us to get out there and get it quick? Well, let's do it in the iOS environment. We've got iPhones, iPods, iPad minis, full-size iPads, what have you. They can all take advantage of that. Everyone pretty much has got one of those, and they can just download the app, scan, import it into Prism, and move on.
Great. So let me show you a quick purchase order and voucher, and we'll call it a day. So I'm creating a new purchase order here. So from here, let's say, so I'll go ahead and, where are you, Kat? Just list a few items, I guess. No, actually, I'll go to advanced lookup. I'll just bring over all my shirts here. Okay. So let me, if you don't mind, I'll just type in a few. Oops, too fast. All right. Come on.
You got a blue line across the top.
Sorry? Failed to highlight those, I think.
That's a little defect you're
Yeah.
seeing there. So still fresh code.
Alpha code.
No, you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to.
It's
Let me
very,
start
very,
over.
very fresh code.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I was pressing the wrong button. Sorry. You know that close button is actually an OK button to bring it over. So there it is. So from here, let me go ahead and just save this if you guys don't mind. What is this? PO12? Great. Done. Now, there are some, again, phase 1 here. Drop ship, single store purchase orders for now.
Yeah.
Okay?
It can do multi-vendor purchase orders. You do have the ability to bring over terms as well as define terms for those vendors on the purchase order for the purchase order itself, bring over discounts or handle trade discounts, things along those lines. So all that is in there.
So now receiving, let's go ahead and just reference that PO. Now, depending on how you manage your receiving, you could just literally start scanning what you're receiving, what you're actually receiving, or just to save time here, I'll go ahead and go to PO items, okay? And I'll bring over all those all those items from the PO to the voucher, right? Update. This will be sent back to Retail Pro 9 and update inventory utilizing the costing method on the Retail Pro 9 side.
Yep.
Okay.
And one of the first questions I've had as far as purchasing and receiving that has been talked about today is, what about ASNs? Again, breaking this into phases. First phase is just general purchasing and receiving in the store, so you got your basic vouchers in the store, but ASNs is quickly coming behind that.
Great. Okay. That is it. Now,
We didn't even touch on time clock.
I'm sorry?
Check in, check out, time clock.
Time clock. Yes. I forgot to check in this morning. Darn it. Let me check in. Actually, let me, I'm going to,
There's an app for that. We didn't write that one.
so from here, from admin console, we'll go to employee here. We'll do a simple clock, just to keep it simple. So we'll save this. Let me back out. Oh, let me make sure I'm at the sub level here. Okay, great. Let me back out. Go back to point of sale. Check in. Done. Right. Check out. Done. So folks would check in, check out as necessary, and then the time clock would just the time clock screen would just show you all of your check-in, checkouts. Okay, and from here you can also create, if you needed to, check-in, check-out.
Modify and manage.
Yep. Okay. Now, one thing that we wanted to show you. Everything we've been showing you so far is actually this Prism server, and the Retail Pro 9 database is actually sitting on Amazon's servers. So everything you saw today was coming from not a local install, but from wherever, whichever server in Alaska somewhere. I don't know.
So really, just kind of drill that home. It is definitely something that we're actively looking at. We're not going to be shy about approaching the Amazon cloud or whatever cloud we end up on, or whomever you want to end up on, but. This is done just to prove the illustration that, yes, it can run. It runs now. It is snappy. It's fast. If you've got the right backbone to support it, there's no reason you can't do this today with your retailers.
Okay. That's it?
Any questions? Any more questions?
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys.